Hello, I'm Jane Clark, and I'm president of the West Coast Chamber. Today's member question of the day is about Hope College's plan to keep their students and our community healthy and safe this fall. I'm so excited to be joined by Hope College President Matt Scogin. Hi, President Scogin, and thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Jane. Thanks very much for having me. It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you. Hey, I know it has been a busy summer. Can you tell us what we can expect this fall as the semester launches? What preparations have you made for a safe return to campus?
Yeah, thanks, Jane. It indeed has been a busy summer. We've been working all summer long, and teams here at Hope College have been working day and night to get ready for the safe return of our students and for that return to occur in a way that really keeps our community's health and safety front and center. Let me talk first, before I get to the health and safety, let me talk first for a minute or two just about why we made the decision to bring our students back. Obviously, in doing so, we decided to take the more complicated path. Actually, at this point, the easier path, the path of least resistance, would have been to decide to go all online with our students. And yet we decided that we wanted to take the more complicated path. And we really had four reasons that we found compelling for wanting to do that. The first is a pretty simple reason, but simply this: our students want to be here in person. And based on surveys we've done and seen, we believe over 90% of our students want to be here in person. And so that was kind of the first thing. We are a student-centric institution, and so keeping our students at the center of what we do, we felt like we wanted to bring them back because our students want to be here. Number two, we believe that the educational experience is better in person. We are obviously a residential liberal arts college, and we believe in the experience of living and learning together. We just believe it's a better educational experience. Number three, it's a more equitable experience. And we saw this unfortunately in a kind of unattractive way in the spring, where when we send students away from campus, some people have environments at home that are very conducive to learning, and others don't. And so others, some don't have great access to internet or to spaces at home that are conducive to learning. And so having our students on campus is a more equitable learning experience. And the fourth is a somewhat counterintuitive reason, but we believe it. We actually believe that it's safer and healthier and more responsible for our community to have our students on campus than not. And the reason for that is, as you know, a large percentage of our students would be living in the region anyway, and we believe that having them on campus, taking part in our regular, in fact, we're doing a daily surveillance test, a daily COVID surveillance test, and having our students on campus, taking part in our surveillance program and asking them to commit to certain health habits and behavioral habits. We simply believe it's better and safer and more responsible to have our students under our purview as opposed to in our community but not under our purview. So those were four pretty compelling reasons that we felt like were why we wanted to take this more complicated path. Our students want to be here. It's a better education, a more equitable experience. And fourth, we believe it's actually safer and more responsible for our community to have our students under our purview than not. So that's the why. Let me now talk for a couple of minutes about what is the fall going to look like. And we have a really comprehensive plan in place. I believe it's not only comprehensive, but I believe it's innovative. We've done a number of things to change what the fall semester will look like so that it can be a safe and healthy experience for all of us, including the broader Holland community. First thing we did is we changed the schedule, and we're starting 2 weeks earlier than normal. So we actually start classes 2 weeks from today, the day we're recording. Our classes will start on August 17th, and that's 2 weeks earlier than we would normally start. And that starting earlier allows us to end the semester before Thanksgiving. So our semester will end on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And that will minimize the risk involved with sending 3,000 students away from campus for the 4-day weekend of Thanksgiving and then trying to bring them back. So we'll start August 17th and November 24th, and that will, more or less will bring our students here. And then we're essentially telling them, once you're here, we'd prefer for you to stay on campus and stay close only go home if you really have to. So that's the first thing we did, is we adjusted the schedule. Second thing we did is we put in place a comprehensive testing program, and I alluded to this a second ago. Our testing program has 3 pillars to it. The first is an at-home COVID test that all of our students, as well as our faculty and staff, will take before the start of the semester. So a few days before students leave home to come to campus, we're asking them to take an at-home test. We're mailing them the test and they take it at home. It's a saliva test, so they spit into something and they take this test at home. And then if they test positive for COVID, obviously we say stay home, stay home in quarantine for 2 weeks. If they test negative, then they come to campus. And that will give us reasonable assurance that we're starting the semester with 0 cases of COVID-19 on our campus. The second pillar of our testing is a daily surveillance test. And what we're doing here is with the help of some of the scientists in our biology and chemistry departments. And by the way, Jane, one of the amazing things about a college campus is we have experts. We have experts right here on our campus. We have one biology professor, Dr. Ben Kopik, whose specific area of expertise happens to be how viruses replicate. So amazing. So we've used Ben Kopik to help design this testing program. And what he's helped us develop is a daily surveillance test where we will take a sample of our students and test them every single day. And we're testing 1% of our students every day. And our scientists believe that that's enough of a sample size to where we can get on top of and mitigate the risk of a potential outbreak. And then the third pillar of our testing program is really a cool and innovative thing. What we've done here with the help of 3 professors in our chemistry department, and these are 3 professors whose area of expertise is water quality. So it's Drs. Aaron Best, Brent Krieger, and Mike Pickart. And as I said, they focus on water quality, and as an extension of their research, this is really cool, they're going to be continuously monitoring the wastewater coming out of our residence halls and our residential zones on campus. And so if we detect the presence of COVID-19 coming out of a specific residence hall, we'll know that somebody in that residence hall has the virus, and then we'll test everybody in that residence hall and obviously quarantine anybody who tests positive. And that's pretty cool. Like, again, we've taken the expertise that we have right here on our campus and developed a really innovative approach that will essentially, in more or less real time, allow us to detect if there's the presence of COVID-19 on our campus. So we have a very comprehensive testing program in place. And then in addition to that, of course, we're doing, we have all the appropriate, we're calling them health habits in place. So distancing, including distancing in the classroom. We'll be wearing masks in all public spaces, including classrooms. You know, we've taken all kinds of precautions in other areas of the campus, including dining halls. We're thinning density in our residence halls. We're not going to do competitive athletics in the fall. That was announced last week, so we'll be postponing athletics, fall athletics into the spring. So it'll be different for sure, but we believe we've developed a comprehensive program that will allow us to safely be in person. There are, and this is, I'll just end on this because this is important to point out, there are some students who can't get to campus or don't want to be on campus, some because of closed borders. A lot of our international students, unfortunately, will not be able to be here on campus, and some who have specific health concerns or vulnerabilities and they decide they don't want to be on campus. And so we will have approximately 17% of our courses will be all online. And so we'll have enough courses online to accommodate students who can't or don't want to be here in person. And that will simply allow them to stay on track with their timed graduation. So that's kind of our plan. I believe it's as I said, a comprehensive plan and also an innovative plan, tapping into the expertise that we have right here on our campus. As I said, it's been developed countless hours over the summer from folks at Hope, and also working closely with Dr. Heidel and the county health officials here in Ottawa County. And we feel good about it. We feel good about what we've got in place, and believe that it's, as I said, going to give our students a good educational experience and also protect the health and safety of our community.
Wow, that is terrific. As a community member, I feel safe. I'm very impressed the efforts that you and,
Thanks,
and your
James.
amazing faculty have put together to ensure a safe return of your students. Let's talk about some of the disruptions that might have been happening as a result of COVID that you think are changing the face of college education and might be here forever. What are some lasting changes you think may result?
It's a great question, Jane. I do think there are some enduring things that have come out of this that we will want to keep in place as we move back into a more normal time, which will happen eventually. We'd all love for that to happen sooner rather than later, but eventually we will be, COVID will be in the rearview mirror. I actually think that disruption in general gives us an opportunity. And in Silicon Valley, entrepreneurs, they love the concept of disruption. They want to be disruptors and they seek disruption because disruption shakes us out of our status quo way of thinking. And unlike any time that I've lived through, we are being shaken in a dramatic way out of our status quo way of thinking. And I think therein lies a lot of incredible opportunities for a place like Hope. We learned in the spring that we can pivot quicker and more dramatically than I think any of us, myself included, ever thought we could. We pivoted 900 courses. That's if you take a snapshot of what we offer in a semester, 900 courses from in-person instruction to online instruction in a matter of days. And it just turns out that, the combination of human adrenaline and God's grace, we pulled it off. Right. And I think that itself has kind of sparked this new appetite and recognition of the fact that we can change. We can do bigger things and more dramatic things than we ever thought possible. And that's a huge opportunity for us. What we're going to be talking about as we move through this time and beyond will never be the same. Hope College will never be the same because of what we've gone through in a good way, in a very good way. So what we're talking about, and I actually like the vernacular of this better than online learning, we're talking about digitally infused curriculum. So the conversation is, what's the right mix going forward of in-person versus digitally infused curriculum at a place like Hope College? And the fact that we now have capabilities in remote learning that we didn't have before, that's a huge opportunity. And we have some members of the faculty who said, I had never taught this way before and wouldn't have necessarily volunteered to do it, but I kind of liked it. I learned a lot and I wouldn't mind a second go around at refining these skills. And so I think that itself gives us a really nice opportunity to think about, as I said, the right mix of kind of remote and brick and mortar and how we rethink some of those things going forward. I think there's a whole host of things we can think about. I mentioned the schedule changes that we're doing this year, starting earlier and ending earlier. I actually think that might be something we want to think about. It means that we're bringing our students to campus in August so that they're actually enjoying more of a West Michigan summer, which is great. We love the summer here. And it means that we have a longer break between Thanksgiving and January 11th is when we start the spring semester this year. And I think there's some interesting things we could do during that time frame. We could offer some condensed courses online. We could do some missions trips or some overseas opportunities or some remote learning opportunities. So I think the schedule change is an interesting one that we might want to think about enduring. I think there's a lot of things, and what we're trying to do is carefully document what we like and what we don't like about what we're trying now. And as I said, I think the overarching opportunity is simply that we recognize we can change quicker and more dramatically than I think most of us ever thought we could.
I think that is so true. All of our business members have had to pivot as we went this past spring, and certainly the college is a leading example of how to do it the right way. So I appreciate that. Many of your students are engaged in our community throughout the school year. Internships, jobs, different opportunities around town. What might we expect for that?
You're asking for the fall specifically?
Yeah.
In general. Yeah. I think we'll kind of take it as it comes and look at specific opportunities on an individual basis. I don't think a one-size-fits-all approach is the right approach here. So as I said, we'll want to make sure that we're doing everything in a way where we keep our community safe and also where we're keeping our students and our faculty and staff safe. So I think we'll look at each thing as it comes across, and if we feel like it's safe for the business and safe for our community and safe for us, then it's all systems go. And if it's something where we'd want to take a harder look at, we'll do that also. But I think we feel like we've got kind of the overarching structure in place for a safe and productive learning environment. And now it's kind of up to all of our individual faculty members and leaders to use their own judgment and their own discretion within the broad framework that we've developed over the summer.
I appreciate that. And I know we're all going to be driving with data as we figure out
That's right.
path forward here. So boy, let's reflect back. You've been here about a year now. I'm sure this was not the year you necessarily envisioned when you first.
It was not.
What's been your biggest lesson learned?
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, first of all, it's not been the year I predicted. It's been eventful, to say the least, but it's been great. I love it. I love Hope College. I love Holland. It's been a joy to be here, even in the midst of a global pandemic. So I'm still loving every minute of this job and the chance to serve this amazing institution that I believe in so much. So I've had a great year. And I believe that, and like I said, I think all of I see opportunities, and I think embedded in the challenges are opportunities. It's hard. What have I learned was the question. It's hard to boil that down to one specific thing. I might mention three quick things that I've learned. One is that, and I kind of came in with some sense of this, but I've learned that there really are challenges with regard to the business model of higher education. And I think everybody knows that. It doesn't necessarily take a genius to figure that out, but it does take some smart minds to think about what we can do about it. But there are just kind of some oddities to the business model of higher education. And one thing that I've observed specifically with regard to the business model that I find problematic, and it's interesting because I just came from the business world. Before this, I was working in the financial sector for 11 years in New York City. So I understand the business mindset. And one thing that I find problematic about the business model of higher education is the fact that we think of students as customers. And I think there are a lot of unintended consequences that come from the notion of our students being our customers. For one thing, and everybody's trying to figure out why in the world higher education has gotten so expensive. And it's just crazy how expensive higher education has gotten. And the fact that for 3 or 4 decades straight, the cost of higher education has outpaced inflation, that inherently means that every single year, the value of higher education becomes less, because it's inherently becoming less worth it as the cost continues to outpace inflation. One reason that's happened is that we're competing for students in the same way that a business competes for customers. And one way in which we, meaning all of higher education, one way in which higher education has done that is by the budget goes up every year because we're trying to add more stuff, more amenities in order to compete for students. And I think a simple way to reframe that would be, let's not compete for students as customers, but let's think of ourselves as a school, and we're trying to educate people, and kind of just reframing it so that it's less about amenities and more about our core thing that we're doing, which is education. In the business world, there's the old adage, the customer is always right. Well, if our students are our customers, it can't possibly be the case that our students are always right, because we're teachers and they're students. And so sometimes we actually have to say, sorry, you're wrong and we're right. So I think there's a whole host of, by the way, another one that everybody's trying to get their minds around is, why has grade inflation gotten so out of control in higher education? Well, one reason grade inflation has gotten so out of control is because we higher education think of students as our customers. And if your customers are paying you $50,000 a year, it's kind of hard to give them a bad grade. And so I think there's some real challenges embedded in the idea of students as customers. And one thing that we're talking about as we try to think about a new tuition model is, how do we get past a transactional relationship into more of a student-teacher relationship again? That's one thing, is just the challenges embedded in the business model. Two other quick things I'll mention, which is just, first of all, the potential power of an academic community as it relates to economic development is incredible. And here, as we talked about our response to COVID, we have thinkers who are very, very smart people in all aspects of society and art and music and and everything you can think of. We have people here who are thinking about those areas all the time. And I just think there's an incredible amount of untapped potential in that, in better connecting our community to the community of thinkers that we have right here at Hope College. And when you step back and look at the country and look at where the real pockets of innovation are, those pockets of innovation have occurred because of interesting collaboration between the community and universities. So Silicon Valley exists because of Stanford University. The tech corridor outside of Boston exists because of MIT. And some of the interesting things going on in Austin exist because of the university there. And we're not going to be, we can't compete necessarily. I'd love to be able to compete with Silicon Valley or the tech corridor outside Boston. That's a bit ambitious, but we can be that on a micro scale. And I think one thing I've learned is just there are amazing thinkers right here at Hope College. And I think there's untapped potential by thinking about how we can better partner and collaborate with the community, and the potential for that in terms of innovation and economic development and entrepreneurship and business startups is, I think the sky's the limit there. And then the last thing I'll mention that's been a positive surprise is just how gritty and resilient our students are. I mean, this has been obviously a year of unprecedented challenges for all of us, but our students have just been put through it. And, having to have, athletics canceled and one disappointment after the next, and yet they've just been resilient and gritty. And this is the generation of students that everybody said, they're snowflakes, they can't take real conflict, they can't take real challenges, they can't take real pressure. And I just think that's resoundingly not true. They've shown themselves to be resilient and gritty, and I think our future leaders are really strong, and I think the future of our community and our country is in good hands with this generation of students, because they've just shown themselves time and time again throughout this year that they're resilient and that they want to be. Another interesting thing, this is the generation of students that everybody said is addicted to technology, addicted to social media, they want to live their lives online. Well, actually, it's the case that their technology prowess helped us pivot pretty quickly to online education, but our students were the first ones asking the question, when can we be back in person? And this so-called addicted to technology generation realizes inherently the value of human contact. And I think that they're going to be a great generation of leaders. So those are three things I've learned: business model challenges, an incredible amount of untapped potential through potential community collaboration, and a great gritty generation of students is going to be our next generation of leaders.
I love that. I appreciate the economic impact the college makes on this community and your vision for that. Let's talk a little bit about your role. This is a big job right now, inspiring your faculty, your staff, and your students. What's the takeaway message you would want our business members to understand as they're perhaps struggling with or learning how they can continue to be inspiring their own staff members?
Well, I'll tell you how we've talked about it here, and maybe this will be helpful, or maybe this will resonate, maybe not. But what I've said internally is that we can either have, it's all about mindset, it's all about tone. That's how we'll get through this time together. And we can either have the mindset and the tone of, boy, this is challenging, or boy, I wish things were different. I can't wait till this is over. And by the way, all that's true. We can't wait till this is over. This is challenging, and it's really hard. And we're making decisions with inherently limited information, and we all wish that that was not the case. And we can either decide to dwell on that, to dwell on the uncertainty and dwell on the difficulty and dwell on the challenges, or we can take a different posture, which is simply to say, this is going to be interesting. Let's see what we learn together through this. And we're a community of learners. We're like a community of intellectual people who like asking questions and like doing experiments. Well, we have an amazing experiment right here on our hands that we get to live through. And so for me, it's that. It's all about tone. It's all about mindset. And instead of dwelling on the challenges, we've talked about internally how we're going to be a people who dwell on hope and dwell on the opportunities, and say, instead of, boy, this is going to be difficult, we say, boy, this is going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what we all learn together through this time. So that's it for us. And I think that's worked more or less okay, is just trying to calibrate our minds to the right mindset.
Yeah. Wow, great words of wisdom and apply to all audience members. So I appreciate that. So President Scogin, we're starting to run up against the end of our time together. I always like to end these conversations with maybe what's the last final takeaway you would like to leave our community members as they're looking forward to your students coming back to campus?
Well, I think the last thing I would say is we've taken an approach by which we're thinking about the health and safety of our community first. And so we're not doing this recklessly. We're not doing this without a ton of planning and work that's gone into it. And so just know that as we're bringing 3,000 students onto our campus, we're doing it thoughtfully, we're doing it prayerfully, and we're doing it with a lot of planning in place that's gone into it, keeping the safety and health of our community first and foremost. And then the last thing I'll leave is just to reiterate the point that we're so grateful to be in this community. And I do think that there is untapped potential by us doing more with the great business leaders and innovators and entrepreneurs that we have in this community. We're grateful to be here. And I think that the combination of the intellectual prowess that exists on Hope's campus and the great mindset of business leadership and entrepreneurship that exists in Holland and in our broader community, we can do great things together. And I'm excited about that. And I do think we can have something that others will look at and be envious of, because we have this pocket of innovation and entrepreneurship and economic development that we can cultivate together.
Well, thank you so much, President Scogin, for speaking with us today. I've learned a lot. I appreciate your leadership, and we look forward to a safe return of your students this fall.
Thanks, Jane. It's great to be with you, and thanks for your leadership also.
Thank you very much.